that they're really learning or they are not learning. So that can be distinguished. What is another purpose is that we are checking. So let us
Hello.
ask, yeah.
This is Mayank. Sir, this is a very good example based on the psychology also, because suppose lecture delivery is the one-way process. So wherever the 3 to 4 minutes gap is there, so it is good to observe that what is the impact is over the students and how they are reacting.
So what is the purpose? Why do you want their reaction?
Purpose is that the retention of the information, to familiar with that information getting from the lecture first. And second, the involvement by mentally and create the interest to further preparation or further acceptance of the part of the lecture.
Okay. So all these aspects are correct. I'm not denying that. There is one more basic thing in outcome-based education, why we should involve students. When we teach something, it's an unconditional clause that we cannot simply talk. We need to make them involved because there's a very specific purpose. I'm just trying to get that, but whatever you have told is correct. I'm not denying that. Over and above, there is one more reason. Let me see anybody else. Let me see. Somebody is writing in the chat box. Probably I'm not able to see that. Let me just check 1 second. Okay, Uma is writing. We get ideas and involvement of the students about the lecture. We get idea about, no, who is we? Teachers are we. So teachers get idea and involvement of the students about the lecture. Yeah, that is true. We will have some understanding how many of them are involving, to what extent they are involving. The question is, what is the purpose? So Venkateshwar Rao is asking, flipped classroom.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, hello.
Sir.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Regarding for repetition, sir, by doing the revision more and more, so the students can understand more.
So now
so
we are
repetition
coming to the...
here, what is means that it is important
so I want
to highlight more.
I don't want to classify it as simple repetition, but when the student is actually doing the cognitive action, thinking action, then only they are actually learning. That is the key part of outcome-based education. Not when teacher is doing the job. So whenever there is an opportunity, you make the students to interact so that they learn better. During those interactive time where student is actually using their cognition, and how many times you are asking them to do it in a class, it really matters. So not only for checking their interaction, checking their knowledge, not only for increasing their motivation, not only for just repeating, all these factors are there, but the most important thing is when you allow them to involve in the cognitive activities, then only they're actually learning. That's the thing. Okay, great. So here the basic picture that you are getting is there is a class with the breaks. Something that you are seeing in the beginning, advanced organizing. What is that? What is called advanced organizing? Anyone has a, you can either raise your hand so that I can request you to unmute. What do you mean by advanced organizing? Devika or is Amuda there? About Ramya T. Ramya T is just connecting. Ramya, can you unmute? Janardana Raj. Shiny Aram. So even though it looks like very simple, you reduce the lecture and then break, but there are some elements that we still need to understand, like advanced organizing, what it means by that. Deepa Pillai. Is Deepa Pillai there? Okay. So I think majority of the participants are not in front of the system. A few are there, because if it is students, I can understand they are shy to answer, but I don't expect that at the teachers level. So it means that large number of faculty members just enrolled and probably are not paying attention. That's a fact. That is the fate of this kind of why these programs are not going to be very effective because
Yes,
of
sir.
this.
Actually, it is online mode, no.
Yeah. So,
Yes,
but
sir.
this we have to do in the class also. Otherwise, teachers will be simply talking and nobody may be listening. So at least in a classroom, we can make it effective,
Yes,
because students will pay attention, listen to teachers if you ask them to unmute and talk. So advanced organizing.
We can observe the face reaction also, whatever students in front of you. The offline is better always.
Yeah, so some teachers ask them to open the video, but the problem is bandwidth, other issues are there. But yeah, at least when they respond, we can always ask them to keep the camera on. That is true. So advanced organizing is basically an activity in the class where the teacher does something to organize the students in advance, organize their thought process in advance. So it is not teacher's preparation. You are helping the students to prepare for the class. That happens inside the class only. When they come to the class, teacher does in the beginning 1 or 2 minutes, so that they are now ready, oriented toward the subject that you are going to teach. That is called advanced organizing. Then there is a lecture, make it as brief as possible. Then you give a problem to the students. And when they do the problem, they actually learn it. They may have doubts, they can clear it either with their friends or with you. Then again, you give another input dose, then ask another problem. So how many times you can ask them to do the problem? That is the success parameter, not how many times you can give the lecture. All right. So let us now see, in this case, I want you to now come up with at least a couple of ideas. Okay. How can we do this advanced organizing? How can we help the students to organize in advance? So think about some strategy, some plan that teacher can do. Write it down somewhere. Then I will request some of you to read what your thoughts were. Take a minute to think. Okay, so I think Uma has written something. Uma, can you unmute? Uma. Can you unmute?
Uma madam, please unmute yourself.
You have written e-content present to the students. Is it this for this question or something else? Maybe she has some problem with the audio problem. Yeah. So e-content presentation to the students is a, are you telling as an advanced organizer? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. No. So e-content presentation we can give advanced to students, but advanced organizer is something that happens inside the class, nothing outside. So you can provide all the contents before, but that cannot be considered as advanced organizer. Advanced organizer is when you are ready to talk to the group. How do we orient them? That is the question. So Sridevi, can you tell some ideas? Sridevi, yes. Okay. Mahendran. Is Mahendran there? Okay. Revati or Prabhavati. Sharmila Devi. So I think majority are Sheikh Abdul. Even Uma can also think about something else and write in the chat box. Others can also, if you are using the chat box, if you prefer that, you can use it. Remya or Imran Khan, Amuda, Kanagalakshmi. It's interesting that none of you wants to unmute. Florence Joseph. Those who are present, anybody else they can also unmute. Okay, I got a message from Uma. Shall we give the problem and ask them to solve the problem according to their knowledge? Well, it is possible, but this could be better in the interactive session in the class where you have these 3 to 4 minutes interactions. In the beginning, if you ask them to solve problem without giving any input, probably that can lead to some kind of a chaos. And also, it should not take too much time, right? I mean, this advanced organizer is very short, something that you can do very quick so that everybody get oriented in the class. Anyone else? Venkateshwara Rao or somebody who are attending the session? Okay, I think I got another message from M. Umadev. Right? We can give surprise tests like online quiz. Okay. Yeah, probably 5 questions or 2 questions, not very lengthy. Even 1 question is enough. The idea is that now they are oriented towards your subject. Shall we give topic prior and get some ideas for the topic? Possible. Not even given prior. When they come to the class, you write the topic on the board and ask what is the idea about this topic? How do you connect this topic to your daily life? What do you know about this topic? You ask the question to a pointed student. Give some time to think and ask one person. Don't ask to the class. Always call the student's name and ask the question. Don't embarrass him or her. That is not the idea. but let the question be pointed and let them think about it. You ask one student, everybody will think. Okay, there is another input. How will you store a number in C? Is it possible to store more than one value in a single variable? To maintain 100 numbers, is it possible to use 100 different variables? Yeah, I mean, any kind of questions, you can just pose it and let them think for a few minutes. You don't need a correct answer now at this point because you are just beginning the class. No need for correct answer. What you need is their attention. When I say there, everybody is in the class. So these questions, even though you're asking to point at students, the idea is, the purpose is to get everybody's attention. So teacher has to do something in the beginning of the class so that it leads to the attention of everybody. That is the point. It can be done in variable ways. The easiest way is asking a question. Another way is you can ask them to recap the previous class. Instead of you recapping, you ask them to recap. That is another way. Yet another way is you can, like we said, topic can be given, ask them how do you relate to this topic. Or you can tell the learning outcome for that particular class and see what are the things to be done to achieve that outcome. You ask their opinion. Group discussion also helps to involve. Yes, it is true, but group discussions I would prefer once the class starts, not in the beginning. Beginning is, the idea is to get their attention. So a simple question to one or two individuals and some thought-provoking scenario you create and then you start. Debates also, yeah, I would move all those debates, discussion, everything after the class actually starts. When the subject is introduced, teacher gives some input, then you can have all those things. Beginning, it is 1 or 2 minutes. You ask pointed questions to 1 or 2 students so that the entire class fall in line. That is the idea. Okay, good. So that is how you start the class. We were talking about this particular method called book and lecture. And just now what we described is advanced organizing. And in the chat box, there is another message, day-to-day life example related to the topic. Yeah, that is possible. You can ask the student to give the example. Teacher should not give the example. See, the mistake that every teacher does is, teacher takes the ownership of learning. Teachers provide everything upfront. That is not correct. You can ask the students to respond. Okay. Sterling is now writing topic compilers. Is it a hardware or a software? Can we able to see it? Can you tell some compiler's name, compile name? Yes, we can ask these questions. Not expecting any right or wrong answer. Don't judge the answer also. Idea is to get some response so that everybody is in the same page and then they are oriented, organized towards the class. So this is the first step. Now, we are now moving to the second thing. I want you to again think about what are the activities that you can give in the class. Okay. Activities means when you start the lecture, as you can see here, first you do the advanced organizing, then your lecture is started. And after a few minutes of your lecture, you stop. You please stop. Okay. Then ask your students to do something. When they do something, the question now to you is, what are the things that you can imagine a real classroom and your subject? What kind of question would you pose to them after your brief lecture? That is the question. So think about it. Come up with a clear example of this question. Write down the lecture topic and at least 2-3 activities that you can give to them. Design it now. Go ahead. a clear problem that you design and ask them to do. This problem should take 2 to 3 minutes to solve. It's not should not be yes or no, or it should not be something very easy. Okay. So it's right problem thing. I hope I'm problem solving. To given data and formula to be applied. So, okay, I think there is some audio problem. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, but I think instead of asking them to write the formula for minutes. So during that time, teacher solving the problem. Everybody may have at different points of the solving problem. So accordingly, you can give the feedback. So let it be like 5 minutes. Let them solve the problem. At least attempt to solve it. So when they're getting these attempts frequently, then they will get that skill of problem solving. That is the idea. Okay. So let me see the other. We can ask the students to compare the results. It is possible, but after comparing, what to do? What is the task? The task should be clear. So I have a result, you have a result. Now I am comparing this. Now after comparing, what is that I'm supposed to do? Is it that I'm going to list out the pros and cons? Or is it the advantage, disadvantages? What is that I'm going to do after comparing these two things? So that task has to be defined properly. Okay, Ramya is writing topics like.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, regarding problem solving, many students will give different answers. So let them write answer, maybe wrong or right. Then we'll discuss. So which is right, why it is wrong, so that the students will know that what mistakes they are done while doing.
Exactly. That is the point. That's the point. This is like for them, they will also realize where did they make the mistake. But for that to happen, we need to allow them to solve the problem.
Yes, sir.
We don't normally do that, right? We are not patient enough to allow them to complete the task. So that is the problem with the current teaching strategies. We are in a hurry to teach. That hurry nature we need to somehow curtail. Okay, now let us, another example is we can ask the students to compare, okay, topics like the best strategy in online marketing.
Sir?
Ramya, what do you want?
We are always focusing to complete the syllabus, conducting semester exam and focusing students' marks and placement all, so that we are unable to concentrate more on this much of points, sir.
That is true. That is the unfortunate situation. But at least some skills you can devote some time for them. I mean, I'm not advocating to completely change the classroom for discussion, but at least some skill if you identify. For example, problem solving is a skill. At least devote a few classes and make them solve the problems. You force them to do the problem. It may not be 100% successful, but by doing that, you are actually improving their skills. And if you can do it in a bit more systematic way by practicing this over semesters, you will see that the reflection will come in the placement.
Yes, sir.
So it's only a slow process. We need
Yes.
to be very patient. That is the only thing.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Ramya is writing topics like best strategy in online marketing. Ramya, what is the task the students should do? That is missing. It's only a heading. What do you want them to do with the topics for best online marketing strategies? They have to come up with the strategies, or what is that you are asking them to do? That part is missing. So when you tell to the students, let us make it very clear what is that you are asking them to do. It can be this can be asked like come up with the new strategies for online marketing. If you are focusing on their creative level thinking or apply level thinking, these questions can be asked. Come up with the new strategies or better strategies. So they will be working on these things, and then we use their application ability or design ability to come up with the new strategies or modified strategies. That's a good thing. So like that, some skills if you want to generate, it is important that in the instructional strategy, you need to incorporate space for that. Lecture will not generate that skill. Good. Any other input is there? Let me see. There are a lot of inputs coming. Narrative. Okay. Mayank is writing. Present new information to the format of a story. For example, a teacher will provide the main and important concepts like a session to telling story. Storytelling, yes, storytelling has been considered as a better way of communication. I agree. But I disagree that storytelling will not develop any skill. Storytelling will not develop a skill in the learner. Learner will have a comfort zone. Learner will be comfortably listening, and learner may feel comfortable, and also she may or he may appreciate, but that doesn't develop a skill. Skill development happens only when the learner starts doing something. Appreciable skill development. So storytelling, I'm not focusing on that aspect because it is more focusing on the teacher, and more focusing on the teacher is not really helping the student. Okay. Let us see. Small street play. Street play. So I mean, role play is probably role play or street play that involving the students. Possible, but normally what I have seen in this role play is a lot of chaos in the class, and a few students, they come to the stage and then they do this, compilers or sorting out, all these things they do, but others will simply watch it. You cannot make everybody involved in role play, right? So I have my own doubts about this efficacy of role play business. It may give a lot of interest or some kind of a joyful moments in the class, but the efficacy for all the students is under a question mark. Ramya is writing.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, you said the present generation teachers are not so patient. Can you elaborate this, sir?
Not only present day generation, many teachers are not patient. The way I mean patient means patient for allowing them to learn. We are patiently telling things. That is not going to help them. This telling business has to be stopped, and then we allow time in the classroom for them to practice some skills. That patience is very difficult because we are always in a hurry to complete the syllabus. So that back of the mind that RG is coming, we ask a question, most of the time we will tell the answer, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So that is where I said the patience. We need, I mean, there are many factors that affects here. I'm not blaming the teachers, but unless we move to a strategic approach where we allow sufficient time for them to think and work on some problems, their skills will not be generated. In that context, I was telling about the patience.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Now, interpret result. Yeah, that can be an activity. We can ask them to give the result, ask them to interpret it, identify the trends in a set of results. That can be asked. Another input is for energy storage topic. We can ask the students to make what? Second. See that? Yeah, we can make street play to show the importance of electricity. Yeah, if you want them to recognize the importance of electricity, I would ask everybody to write a few lines on that, instead of asking a few students for role play. Because my idea is to reach out every student in the class, not a few. Another Venkatesh is writing, present generation teachers. Okay, that question is asked. Like role play. Role play is, yeah, I'm not advocating role play. Okay. I want, if role play is given, let every student do the play, not just a few of them. Present generation. Okay, that question is asked. Ask students to explain few important topics in class. Yeah, that can be given. Ask them to explain it, the concept. So when they explain, teacher will come to know that whether they understood it or not. That is the only way teacher can realize. We can ask the write a slogan instantly. Yeah, instantly means we still give some time. Don't ask them to, don't pressurize them. Give some time, let them, but is slogan writing is the part of the topic? If it is yes, we can ask. These sessions, these interactive sessions are not for entertainment. These are for skill development. So if slogan writing is a skill that is demanded by the topic, yes, we can use it. Okay. Real-time applications. Yeah, so what we do is we can ask them to identify some real-time application for the concept. So use that word identify. Otherwise, if you simply say real-time application, they don't know what to do. That verb should be there. What is the action that you're looking from them? Identify real-time application for this concept and give a 2 minutes, let them think or talk and then come up with ideas. So when you allow them, this is called allowing learning. Okay. And that has to be there in every class as much as possible. I know with your limitations, all class may not be possible to convert like this, but at least a few skills you can generate like this. When I say skill, it is thinking skill, okay, not the physical skill. Thinking is also a skill. Okay. Now we have addressed two parts of this book and lecture. One is how do we do advanced organizer? A lot of suggestions came. And the second question was, how do we do this activity, 3 to 4 minutes activity? And all those inputs that you have given, you can learn from each other. This can be created. Now we move to the last part of this particular method called summary part. So I want you to now think about how do we do the summary of what you have discussed in a class towards the end. So come up with the 2-3 strategies how to do summary of the class. Go ahead. Think about how to do the summary of the class. Okay, there are two chat box messages. We have to ask questions at the end. That is one possibility. We can ask students to highlight what we have discussed. That's a very good point. We have to, another thing is, first we can ask students to highlight, okay, that is, we have to ask questions, discussions on why, advantages, disadvantages. Well, advantage, disadvantages, if they are discussed in the class, we can ask. The summary is not for new learning. Summary idea is quick rehearsal. Whatever we have discussed in that entire class, we ask them to rehearse it. There is a physiological need for that. If you do the rehearsal, the brain will be having a better capability to retain it. That is the idea. And if you, how many times you rehearse it, some teacher said that in the beginning, that determine the retention time. Why do you remember something very frequently means because you are doing this rehearsal again and again. So the summary part is for allowing them to rehearse it. And we should not do the summary. Normally teachers do the advanced organizer, teacher give the lecture, teacher will do the summary, and teacher leaves the class. Learning is very less. If we can allow the students to do summary, that is a better way. And there is a private message from Venkatesh saying that practically how do we do all these things, because of so many reasons. See, there are only two ways to look at this thing. There will be always difficulties. I don't think there will be an ideal situation in life. So if you want to do it, you can always start, give it a try. May not be in a perfect fashion, but you can still try. Amongst all the difficulties, still you can involve students as much as possible. There will be limitations, but the question is, are we looking at the limitations as escape route and don't attempt anything, or within all constraints, we still attempt and make a small edge advance? These are the only two options for us. It's our choice. So summary can be done like that, involving the students, someone to summarize. Yeah, that's a very good thing. We can ask one person to summarize. Please allow them a few minutes to articulate what they want to tell. Don't immediately ask anything, but give some time and then ask one person to summarize. Yes, we can ask the students to summarize and tell what they came to know in the session. Yeah, that's a good idea. We can ask the students to summarize and tell, yeah. So involve the students to summarize the class. That is a basic funda. We can do it in a very way. We can ask to write one summary line, or we can ask them to highlight the keywords, right? Or, well, like you said, one member can tell it and another member can add what is missing. So all this, there are various ways to do things. Patience, right? That's the key thing. We need to have that patience to bring them on. Okay, good. Now we are moving to any concern about this method, book and lecture? What are your concern about this particular way of teaching? That means definite intervals where we ask students to do something. What are your concerns? Suppose you want to do it in your college. Okay, there are 5 new messages. Let me just see. No, these are all suggestions again. Crisp overview of the topic. Yeah, we can check the notes. Yes, it's a good approach. Okay, but any other difficulties that you are anticipating from this approach? I mean, practical problem, because we have to be finally pragmatic or practical. We can always keep telling philosophies, but if it is not useful, what is the point, right? So if you want to implement this, do you anticipate any problems in the classroom? Okay, Sridevi is writing in online mode, it is little bit difficult. Sridevi, even in offline mode, it is difficult. Okay, the problem is right now you face, when I ask people, they are not unmuting, various reasons. The only way is patience. You should not get disturbed or perturbed because it is not working. It will work very slowly. Okay. Syllabus completion. Yeah. So if you convert all the class like this in the beginning, then you may have to really in a troubled situation to complete. So in the beginning, don't change it like this. Take 1 or 2 topics and convert into book and lecture mode. And then once you get the hang of it, then you can complete syllabus. You can do it in this way. I have done this for a course, entire course like this, and still I completed. So it's not a problem, but it will take some time. That is true. Time lacking. All these time difficulties, time management problem comes in the beginning. Once you see, you also, when you do it the first time, you are not a skilled person, right? So allow some time, do it again and again for a few topics, then you know how to do it. Students' attendance is a problem. Students' attendance. Basavaraj, you are trying to say that they are not interested, or can you elaborate your point? Students' attendance means what?
Sir, if the students are irregular, then whatever we do, that will not
That
be
is, I agree.
effective.
I agree. But what happened is, even if one student is absent, many of these things you can ask them to do jointly, 2-3 students. If one person is absent, his contribution maybe or his understanding may be slightly less. That is true for lecture class also. But still, if they interact each other and then they learn from each other, they will be in a better position. So you are worried about the efficiency of the process. But if you compare the same situation, absence in the lecture and an activity-based class, even the absentees get benefited in activity-based class. It is not possible for problem. What is that? Somebody is writing. Is it not possible for problem? NMG Kumar. Kumar, can you unmute? I didn't understand the question. Is it not possible for?
If it is a problem continuously going like iterative solutions or any other larger problems, it becomes very difficult, sir.
You mean iterative cases?
Yeah, iterative
Iterative
solutions.
cases, what we can do is, if it's a long derivation or a long process, stop it some between and involve them to do the 2-3 steps. And then you again take it from there.
Sir, one kind request, sir, whatever the procedures which we can following, but the problem is that interest cannot be created, interest cannot be generated.
Students' interest.
Interest implementation is most important for students.
So,
because
yeah.
one thing is that we are not getting all the students with common grades. They are coming with different grades, different scenario, different financial background, different situations, different category of admissions.
Yes.
All these scenarios has to come and making them the classroom environment. When we look at ancient people, nothing is there, such type of breaking up. When it comes to modern days of teaching, if they are not able to concentrate at least half an hour, can able to work in an industrial environment, very challenging jobs, especially doctor field, engineering field, where the many challenges will come. How these scenarios can be overcome?
So, okay. So, do you think the students' interest can be further improved by lecture?
Yes, sir. Yes. I believe.
Lecture can improve the students' interest?
I believe.
Okay, but what the data suggests, do you have any data? Do you have any data, or you believe it?
And if it is data means, then it becomes an argument.
No. It is scientific.
I'm telling
argument.
If it is a data, what happens with the ancient people? What we have studied?
No. That's what. So no. Don't compare ourselves, because probably we were taught in other method. We could have done much better. So we don't have a reference to compare that. So don't use our strategy, the way that we were taught. But that's what I said in the beginning. When you see literature and see a lot of data indicating that a lecture versus interactive class, and then the data communicate to you that interactive class students are doing better, still we tend to believe that lecture is a better method.
If it is
So
interactive
it is
session, definitely I will also accept, sir.
Huh, huh,
The problem is that
huh.
student should process their attitudinal approach.
Yes.
Like, I'm coming to the class.
Okay, so now if
Whatever
it
the
is
teacher is saying, I have to listen.
Huh.
Then after 20 minutes, I need to question.
Huh,
What should be the necessity of learning this topic?
right,
Where it actually comes from the industry.
right,
Do you have any practical information? Such
Huh.
scenarios is a challenging job.
right.
Topics
So
cannot be given
now
in
can I
practical
tell you some of the data that are also available from studies? I'm not telling from my belief system. Some of the data that is available is students' interest can be improved by changing the way that you take the class. That is also known in the literature. So all these RBIS that we are discussing, research-based strategies, no need to follow, but if you change yourself, the way that you teach, that also bring motivation. If you do the same way that you teach every day, that will not help to improve the students' motivation. That's also there in the literature. So I'm not prescribing any of these methods. What I'm suggesting is, if you can involve them by your own way, that also helps. And no method is for 100% success. Please understand that. So when teachers do some of these methods and say that, oh no, not everybody is involving, some people are still talking, they are not participating, 100% success will not come for any method. But why then we use method? Because majority will get help. Whereas compared to a lecture, when majority get help, why don't we move to that strategy? That is a question. Again, there are so many scientific evidence. When you listen to a person in a beautiful lecture, your brain activity is almost nil. People have done this brain, imaging techniques to a person who is watching the TV and the same person who is sleeping. You know how the chart, when the person was watching the TV, it was the brain activity shows just a parallel line to the x-axis, no movement. When the same person was sleeping, the graph was so erratic. That means brain was actually functioning. So when you listen to another person, even if the lecture is beautiful, it doesn't create any skill. The brain is simply passively capturing the data. That is not what we meant by education. So,
Sir,
yeah,
sir,
yeah.
regarding as previous professor is told about the student, just I will add on to that, sir. Actually, students should have first, as you told, yeah, we have to create an interest for that. Of course, sir, we also try to do it. But their mentality is just to pass. We don't want to understand the concept. Just to pass in the exam, get a certificate, and to get a placement. Their mindset is, most of the students is like that. That is, we are troubling.
Huh. I agree that many students just come to the engineering discipline by pressure by the society, parents. They are not really interested. So we can blame parents, we can blame society, but that will not give a solution. So the only way that I was thinking is, now that they have come to this engineering stream, and they now look for the placements, and they know that they pass, then only they can go to that. Why can't we make that pass process a slightly difficult process so that they will start paying attention? It's by force or by demand. If you want placement, you need to pass the exam. The exam is not going to be easy in my class. If that scenario, if you can generate, I know there are other difficulties.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
There are only 10% institutions which are governed by your principles. 90% are governed by corporate.
Okay.
Corporate. In that scenario, the first and foremost, the student and parent is thinking, they are thinking education institutions as a bank. I am paying 10 lakhs fees. After 4 years or 5 years, he has to has to get 6 lakhs package.
Right.
Then your institution is good. Otherwise, you do research or you do something else. Simply they say that
Right.
it becomes a little bit lower. That's it.
But this 6 lakh package, companies will come and pick up if you can provide better students, better skilled students. Your college placement will be in a better position. So this eventually it is going to be beneficial for your college and your institute, because skill development is that we are focusing on this method. Students' interest, I am telling that that's a fact that we need to consider. But unless somewhere we start addressing the skill development, this will not be solved. And that's what I said, when you change the class scenario from lecture to some other way, there are teachers who does every teaching in a laboratory. You come to go to the lab, and then even the theory thing you teach in the lab, allow them to do something on that related topics. So the entire course design is different. Attempt something different, and thereby you can generate their motivation. Don't expect this adolescent age group who are pushed to the class, come up with the motivation, say that I want to learn, I want to understand the concept. Sometimes you remember your students' days also, right? We were not motivated to learn everything under the sun. We have our own choices. So I'm not blaming anybody, but expecting an adolescent age group to come forward with a lot of motivation in every class, it's almost impossible. That will never happen. So it is our duty to slightly, spark the motivation them by approaching different methods. Some approaches will fail, some will success, some will be partially successful. It's a mix. Okay, but eventually it will come to this one. We can blame society, we can blame corporates, we can blame corruption in the situation, we can blame everybody, and then just come to our own comfort zone and then do whatever we are doing. That is one approach. Another approach is, within all these constraints, do something to improve the skill of the students as a teacher. Again, choice is yours. Okay.
Sir, another one regarding placement, sir. Placement. Whatever the degree they study, once again they are going to work in IT. Most of the 90% of the students, that is the mentality. They are giving more importance to the language study. Which language is required in the industry? Yeah, if I'll get a job by studying this language.
So the problem is, market will be driven by profit and demand. And if IT is having demand, market will be driven towards that, students will be attracted towards that. These are all things beyond our control. But one thing probably, as a teacher, I can still influence the student is, even if I teach, for example, mechanical engineering or chemical engineering, when the student go to an IT field, the cognitive skills that I taught them in the class, like problem solving, analytical thinking, creative thinking, that will be beneficial in a different scenario, in a different context. So I still play a good role as a teacher, even though the content and the context are different. These skills that I invoked in them will be useful for them. Beyond that, I cannot tell them that I taught you chemical engineering, you do only chemical engineering. It's a free country, and we can't do anything about it. Good. So we have a good discussion about the possibilities, but book and lecture is something that teachers can do in the classroom without much effort, because still you are lecturing a lot in the class. Only a few breaks of lecture is demanded, and designed activities can be given to them. Okay. Now we are moving to another method. So the whole class today's session is about different methods, right? Some of the FAQs on book and lecture. Can I cover the same content using a book and lecture format? The answer is yes. Most teachers cover more content. I'm telling those teachers who are experienced in conducting book and lecture, okay? Not at the beginners. Beginners, my suggestion is take one topic and then do the book and lecture and see how it goes. How will student respond? They will not be very happy in the beginning. Nobody is happy when you ask them to do job. Who will be happy? They are human beings, right? So if you ask them to do problem solve the problem, analyze this, do that, who will be happy. They'll be slightly kind of concerned, but as a teacher, you can take them along with you. That's a skill that you need. Can I use this format in large class? Answer is yes. Can I use this format in mathematically oriented courses? The answer is yes. So this is some literature on how to address students' resistance. Suppose they are not willing to follow your instruction. You need to acknowledge their anxiety. They may be thinking, why teacher is not giving a lecture, but teacher is asking me to do things in the class. No other teachers are doing this. So address their anxiety saying that I'm doing this purposefully, not because I didn't prepare for the lecture today. I know how to lecture, but I want you to do the problem because you can develop the problem solving skill. This communication has to happen. And there is a lot of benefits and fun if it's an offline mode. Students can interact, talk, instead of listening to somebody for a long time. And you can also say that this is not based on my fancy idea. There are data supporting this. And take their feedback. What do they think about it? And respond to their feedback. You can talk to them outside the class if they want. And plan to talk one-on-one and to a most visibly anxious student. So like that, you need to tackle the situation. There will be students who are anxious in such kind of classes where they may even think that my learning is not complete. I have scattered data here and there. But learning is always like that. They are not realizing it. Even if you listen to a beautiful lecture, learning is scattered. You need to do a lot of iterations to fit these things in the jigsaw puzzle to get the complete thing. That will come, it's a long process. Okay. So you need to address their anxiety. And, when students follow you, there are two things. One is they should feel that you know the subject very well. That's very important. Second thing, they should feel that you care for them. If you can convince these two things to student community, majority will follow you. These are the tricks. Okay. These are some data that I picked up from literature to prove that this is better than lecture. So those who are still confusing whether this method will work, I can give you more than 300 very good research studies about they analyzed 6,000, 7,000 students from high school, college, university, as you can see on the left side, and then proved that interactive classes doesn't matter which teacher is teaching. The class, if it is interacting, learning is better. That is proven. Okay, I just want to read this sentence. The primary takeaway from research on active learning is that student learning success depends much less on what teachers do than what teachers ask their students to do. So this is the summary of active learning research. Whatever you do in the class is actually immaterial. It's a very disappointing statement for many teachers because they do many things with the good intention, but success depends upon what your students are doing in the class. Second model of teaching is called peer instruction model. Okay, I will describe this method first. In peer instruction, which was developed by Eric Mazur, you start the class with a concept question. No lecture. Start with a concept question. This concept might have been introduced before. Sometimes it can be new, but it's a question on a conceptual part. And usually it's a multiple choice question. Then you throw the question, ABCD option. First step is, after giving a few minutes, ask for individual response. You pick up a person, you answer, Shiny answer, Sridevi answer. Like that, you pick up the student and take their answer. Don't tell whether it is a right answer or a wrong answer, whether the choice is right or wrong. Just keep on collecting from individuals. Then next step is you allow them to interact and again answer and see whether the interaction changed their previous choice. So this is a key part in this particular method. Take individual response. After that, you allow them to interact and then take the response again. Some of them will say that, okay, I have given the same answer and I want to stick to that answer. Some will say that, no, my previous answer was not correct. I think now this is the answer. So if somebody is changing, that means they have actually thought upon and then they could realize their mistake. Some of them may be initially right, later also right. That's a different issue. But those who made initial mistakes, if they can realize that mistake by this activity, then the learning really happens. So, and if after getting this answer from pairs or group, still problem persists, then teacher can give the teaching part, presentation part. So, this method is called peer instruction model. This is another very effective method of teaching. Okay. Now let me, this is just a data to show that. Okay. Some references, if you want, I can send you these references. Eric Mazur is from Harvard University. He developed this method based on peer learning. Okay. Another method. This is, the name is very long, but don't worry about the method. Is not that complicated like the name. The name is Differentiated Overt Learning Activities Framework. Overt means obvious. Differentiated obvious learning activity. There are obvious learning activities which you can differentiate. You identify those learning activities, make a framework, and then go to the class. This is the framework. So what you can see is 4 obvious learning activities: passive learning, active learning, constructive learning, and interactive learning. What I wanted to do now is, I wanted to define these 4 different learning activities in your language. What do you understand? What is passive learning? What is active learning? What is constructive learning? And what is interactive learning? Take 1 or 2 minutes and then define these things. Okay. And Sridevi, now tell me what is passive learning according to you? Can you unmute?
So passive learning is where the students' active participation is not involved. Like a faculty is simply teaching and students are listening to it.
Yes. Passive is no active participation from the learner. Learner is a listener. And that's called passive learning. Some learning happens that way. As somebody said, all of us learn that way. So some learning happens passive way. That is passive means no action from student side. Receiving, you are at the receiving end. Then the learner is called passive learning. Okay. What is active learning? Priya Vishwanath. Okay. Rajiv Agarwal.
Yes, sir.
Priya, what do you mean by active learning? That's the question.
What is by active?
Active learning.
Active learning.
Can you see the slide? There are 4 different types of learning we are discussing. One is passive learning. Another one is active learning. There are 2 more, but we are now in the active learning part.
Active learning to give all prospective aspects of a rule which we needed, sir.
that is need, but what is it? What do you, when you say somebody is actively learning,
Yes, sir.
what is the feature, or how do we recognize that the person is learning by active learning?
A target destination answer would have been got from the prospective leaves, sir. Then it be said to be active learning.
Okay, all right. Let us see any other response. I think chat box, there are some responses. Let me just see that. They are involved in the process. Sridevi is writing interactive learning. There's interactive learning coming later.
Hello.
Okay. Active learning consists of interaction
hello.
and active involved. Hello. Yeah.
Actively or experimentally involved in the learning process.
Okay. Okay. So active learning means the passive learning, we said the students are simply receiving. When they start responding, that is called active learning. The students start responding to the instructions of the teacher. That means they are involving. But all active learning are not interactive. That's why there is another column that you can see. There is a column for interactive learning that will come to that. But active means student initiate. Passive means teacher initiative. That's the difference. Okay. Now let us try to understand what is constructive learning. Revati, what are your thoughts? Is Revati there? Okay. Devika.
Hello.
Hello.
Learners construct new understanding and knowledge.
Yes. So the difference between active learning and constructive learning is active learning, learner is involved, but learner is following the instruction from the teacher. In constructive, they build on it. Let's call it is constructive. So not only active, but constructive also. They build on whatever input given to them. On the top, they also provide something from their side. That is called constructive learning. What is interactive learning? Amuda? Amuda? Is not there. Narmada? Is Narmada there? Narmada is not there. Venkatesh Rao? Yes, sir. What could be interactive?
Hello.
Learning? Yeah.
Through technology and electronics media, if suppose independent study through electronic media like that, can we say interactive?
Interactive means minimum 2 learners should be there. That means it's more like peer learning, what we normally say. They have to learn not with the techniques, but interact with another human being. So that is called interactive learning. They work in a group or peers and they work out a problem. That is called interactive learning. So the difference between constructive and interactive is constructive can be done individually, but interactive learning cannot be done individually. Interactive means there will be people among to whom you can interact. Okay. So these are the 4 obvious learning activities they have identified. Now let us see how these activities they are going to use it in the classroom. On the left side, they are putting the strategies. Students before coming to the class, students during the class, students after the class. So you categorize into 3 groups and then you tell them in advance, give the topics, then say that before coming to the class, do Either passive learning or active learning or constructive learning or interactive learning. It's your choice. Depends upon the situation, subject, their motivation level. You tick on one column, that is, you suggest them do this kind of a learning before you come to the class. During the class, what you are supposed to do, you can again suggest them. After the class, you can suggest. Basically, you are suggesting a type of learning before, during, after the class. So this method is called differentiated overt learning activities framework. You need to prepare this before the class starts and then provide this, show them into the board and ask them to follow. Will everybody follow? Never. Nothing is followed by everybody. But as I said, if you can tackle the class in such a way that majority follows you, their learning will be improved. So let us see the slides quickly. Passive means, as I said, receive information, listening to a lecture, taking lecture notes. Active means activate their own knowledge related to desired content. A lot of examples like a structured experiment conduct, repeating sentence out loud, underlying, highlighting, copying solution of a problem from the board while the teacher is solving. That initiation, you did not tell them to write it down, but they themselves writing, select from a list of choice. So all these things are examples for active learning. So the idea is that they do something or manipulate instructional information very obviously. They are involved. That is called active learning. Now let us see what is constructive learning. They construct knowledge that extends beyond the presented material. Examples: convert text-based information into symbolic notation, drawing a concept map, drawing and interpret graphs, putting into one's own words, taking lecture notes and convert into your own text, or probably write in Tamil, for example, or write in Kannada, or write in Malayalam. So when you translate these things, you are generating constructively about the knowledge. Compare and contrast different situations. Generate examples. So all these things are examples for constructive. Same thing. Interactive. Two or more learners undertaking constructive learning. Then you can call it is interactive learning. Example: studying or working in pairs, reciprocal teaching, interacting with the feedback from a teacher, arguing or defending one's position with evidence. So all these things are interactive because there is two people. Whenever there are more than one learner and then they start interacting, it's called interactive learning. Okay, I think this slide is not a method, but telling you avoid these methods. 10 worst teaching mistakes all of us do. One mistake: when you ask a question in the class, immediately look for volunteers whose hand is raised, right? So you look for that, and if somebody is saying that I will tell the answer, you're happy. Bad practice. Why? Because the persons who come forward in a class that I will say the answer will say no new will come. So that means you are basically catering to only a very small fraction of your class. That's why it's not a good teaching practice. You should ask question. That's a good practice. But ask randomly to everyone. Don't look for volunteers. Okay. Second thing, call on students cold, which means you ask a question and demand the answer immediately on the spot. That will actually do a counterproductive situation. They will have high stress, and when you are under stress, you cannot think straight. All of us. Brain has common properties, right? So don't put them under stress. You allow them time, then they will slowly open up. Again, patience. Turn class into PowerPoint shows, bad practice. You can use PowerPoint, but don't PowerPoint shows. Keep on changing slides is not a good practice. Fail to provide variety in teaching. As I said in the beginning, if you do the same kind of teaching, it is boring. It may not be boring for you, but for listeners, it is boring. Okay, you need to mix many things in the class. have students work in groups with no individual accountability. That means you have 5 members in the team, but you don't know whom is doing what. Bad practice. Fail to demonstrate relevance. So in adolescent teaching or learning, one thing which is coming to everybody's mind, students' mind is, why am I learning this? Why should I learn this? So teachers' responsibility to demonstrate the purpose. It's a very challenging task, but if you can do that, that will be good. If you are not attempting that, that's a bad practice.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, can you explain second point, sir? Call on students cold.
Yeah, call on students cold is when you ask a question and demand the answer immediately. They will be in a situation like you might have seen, suppose a deer is crossing the road, and then the headlight falls on their
Yes,
face,
sir.
they get stuck.
Yes, sir.
So
They go into a number situation. Yes.
Yes, yes. So avoid that. That is a part of, don't call students on cold.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Next one is, give tests that are too long. See, this our current practice is we have 3-hour end semester examination, 1.5 hour examination in between. What research is telling that a better way is increase the number of tests, but reduce the length of the test. Increase the frequency, reduce the length. That means every week you can have a short test. That is giving better result in terms of their preparedness than a long test. That is what data says. Get stuck in a rut. That is another situation. That means a teacher is taking a course several years. Don't change the course. So what happened is that now there is no new way that teacher can present the material. The same way you will get stuck in a rut. That situation is called stuck in a rut. Another common mistake that teachers do is teach without clear learning objectives or learning outcomes. If you don't have the clarity what is to be learned, you cannot effectively teach it. So have clarity on what is to be learned in that. Then you will be an effective teacher. Last but not least, disrespect students. So this many teachers won't do, but some teachers have this attitude problem that these days students don't listen, these days students don't respect, these days students. So that attitude may not result in a better outcome, because if you have that impression towards them, they will have the same impression towards you. So it's like an old saying in English, give respect, get respect. So that is true for students also. Every generation has their own characteristic features. There is no point in cribbing on that. You acknowledge that, and then, but you still give the respect as a human being, they will start respecting you back. So these are some common mistakes that all of us do. So I thought giving it a thought is good for this workshop. Any question, something that you want to discuss at this point? Anything that you want to comment? We have one more method, and then we are coming to the close of this seminar. I don't see anything in the chat box. So we'll move to the last method. This is another way of teaching instructional strategy called jigsaw. What I will do is I will show you like the book and lecture, one template, one cartoonic representation. Then I request some of you to see what did you understand by that. Here is the picture. Take a minute, go through it carefully, and then I will request some of you to tell me what did you learn from that.
Sir, may I?
Okay.
Sir, I think this is a combination of blending and collaboration, sir.
Okay. So there are two stages, as you can see. Stage one. So what is happening in stage one?
Ideal people of same category have been diversified, separated, and stage two, each participant from each stage, each group has been taken up and collaborated. For sir, I believe there are several C's of 21st century: creativity, collaborating, communication.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it, sir.
Okay. Stage two part is clear from your side. That means there is a mixing from each group, and then they are learning collaboratively. But stage one.
Can I share my ideas, sir?
Yeah. I will just give the feedback. Stage one, there was a mistake in the earlier response. So let us see this feedback. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, in stage one, we are asking people with similar ideas to discuss and come to a certain conclusion.
Okay.
Where the people with working on a particular concept will share idea among them, and they will come to a particular conclusion. After that, from each group, one person will be involved with the other persons in the group. So in that case, they will discuss their idea with other team members. Maybe it is one maybe from computer science, another maybe from EC, and so on. They will discuss idea among their team members, and they will come up with an idea.
Okay, so in this stage one, you are saying that these different colors represent what?
Experts.
Yellow, blue,
expertise
rose.
in a particular field or an idea.
Okay, I think that is what the first teacher also told. There is a small problem. If somebody else wants to respond, everything else is fine. But when you say this, we name it as expert group one, expert group two. But see, students cannot be expert in the beginning, right? So what is that color representing? It is the common opinion that you told me is that they are having the same caliber. That is not correct. There is some other way that we are actually putting this color. That's what I want to get. Somebody else can give some other thoughts. It is not based on their caliber. We are putting that. Okay, I think Manish is saying stage one for specific subject, stage two applied to all in general. Stage one is for specific subject. Manish, can you unmute and tell what is that? Uma is saying stage one particular area, specialization, stage two all area. Okay. Yeah, I think what the Manish and Uma saying.
The other one is another.
Hello.
In a syllabus or in a course. In a course, one group is expert in unit 1, one group in expert in unit 2, one group is an expert in unit 3, and the one group is expert in unit 4. Because the prerequisitely studied, the prerequisitely understood. While we are giving the inputs, they becomes expertise. Whereas the other group, they want to try to learn by mingling all these four and making us to be effective.
Okay, partially okay. Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4, 4 different units you give to 4 groups. That part I take, that is correct. But they are not actually expert. So stage 1 is a process in which
I'm not saying experts, sir. They have prerequisitely studied.
No. That also we don't need to check, because those things are difficult for a teacher to implement. Teacher makes 4 different teams. Okay. From the class, the normal way that we make the teams. There are some suggestions for team making, right? You need to mix up more prepared, medium prepared, less prepared students in one team, make it heterogeneous, both boys and girls, like mix it up so that heterogeneous will be formed. Like that you form 4 different teams. There is no difference. Now you give, as you said, unit 1 to one team, unit 2 to another team, unit 3, it can be unit or it can be different topics for different topics. Now teacher is asking them to learn that topic, one topic for expert group 1, another topic for expert 2, another topic for group number 3, like that. Teacher is helping them, asking questions, giving reading materials, assisting them individually. It may take 2-3 classes or maybe a week class. It's not in one class. Okay, stage 1 is not one class. So like that, you develop expertise in that topic for each groups. That is what is happening in stage 1. Once you develop the expertise, these 4 yellow guys know that topic very well. Now they are ready to teach others. That is happening in stage 2. That blue guy is ready to teach others what topic they discuss in that group. Now he goes to the other one and teach others. So in stage 2, peer learning happens under teacher's observation. Okay. In stage 1, the teacher is helping them to develop the expertise in individual topics. And at the end of stage 1 and stage 2, they will have expertise in all the 4 different topics, all students, even though there is no direct lecture-based class. So this is another powerful way of conducting the class. It is called jigsaw method. Okay. So as you can see in letters, this is what is happening. Each expert group learns and assigns segments and prepares to teach it to the others. Each learning group has this many experts who teach their segments to the other group. These are the 2 stages. May not be very easy for teachers to implement it, but with a lot of homework, and if your syllabus is permitting processing of different topics parallelly, then also we can use jigsaw. Good. We are moving forward. Again, resources are there. So many resources are there for. Some of these are again telling you why this is important. What are your questions at this point about effective instructional strategies? So how many strategies we discussed? Can somebody summarize that? What are the different strategies we have discussed? Can I request Sridevi to summarize different things we have discussed today? Take a few minutes. What are the things that we discussed in terms of strategies? Tell one method, then I can request others to add it on. Sridevi?
So we have discussed the Jigsaw learning method.
Jigsaw is one thing. Okay. Uma, can you tell another one? Okay, Uma is not there probably. Shiny? Somebody is unmuting. Yeah, Indiravadi. Venkateshwar.
Sir, I'm really thankful to you, sir. Because of you today, I've learned many points, out of which I can tell 3 points, sir. Number 1, let it be interval. The very first slide that you used, 3 minutes, 10 minutes, 3 minutes, like that. Yeah. That is nice. Second one is types of learning: passive, active, constructive, and interactive. Okay. Students inside the class, out of the class, 3 categories. Next one, do not demand students and make them number cold.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. These 3 points are highlights for me, sir. Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, Uma is writing peer instructive model from Eric Mazur. Yes, another thing that we learned. Jigsaw we learned, book and lecture we learned, right? These are the different instructional strategies. Yeah, I mean, none of these things are perfect. There is no perfect strategy, right? I mean, but all strategies that we discussed are better in terms of productivity compared to a full lecture-based class. That thing is guaranteed. More number of students will get benefited because you are making them involving in the learning process purposefully. You are designing the class in such a way that you are calling them, you are involving them, so they don't have a choice. They may not like it, but they learned it. So they learn things better when they start involving. That is the idea. Good. Any other general questions? We have now 10 minutes remaining. Any other general questions? I think NMG,
Yes, sir. I
Kumar,
have a question,
yeah.
sir.
Okay, Venkateshwara, yeah.
Sir, you teach in the premier institution of the nation, and you might have seen diversified students. What are the methods that you regularly practice, sir?
Okay, I'm a great fan of book and lecture. Once I started practicing this, all my classes are on book and lecture. So I will say a few things in the beginning, then immediately I stop. Then I I start pulling students to the platform. I mean, I'm very friendly person. I don't put nonsense and take you for granted. These two things, there's a subtle line between these two things. Then they'll start responding to you. And I use book and lecture very effectively.
Sir, have you ever faced toughest students with no communication skills, with no interest, like that, toughest
Yes.
challenges?
Yeah, that is there. A small fraction will be there. Once I remember I was using a different method like flipped class. So
Yes, sir.
there, what happened is some students, they didn't like that. So there was a resistance from that particular group of students, because every time what I did is I made some teams in the class. So when the previous teacher goes and when I enters, I ask them to rearrange their position to the groups. That they didn't like it. They want to sit in their comfort positions. So that resistance was very obvious. But other than that, I didn't have a particular case of a very strong resisting student without they don't come up at all kind of situations. I did not face.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
I think Kumar sir, you want to say something?
How to make a passive student to be an active?
Sorry?
How to make a passive student, embarrassing student to an active? Not by entertaining or not by giving any jokes or something. It should be in terms of content oriented, because
Sir, your voice is, can you speak a little loud? I am not able to hear you properly.
No, is it audible, sir?
Yeah, better. Yeah.
How to make a passive student an active?
Oh, okay. How to make a passive student active? See, there must be reasons why a student is passive, right? Unless the teacher knows exactly what are the reasons, we cannot address this problem 100% effectively. The reasons can be socio-economic background. It can be due to stress, strain. It can be lack of preparedness, lack of motivation. N number of reasons are there. So a 100% successful approach depends upon how successfully a teacher identifies the reason for passiveness. And if you can identify that reason, suppose it's a shyness kind of thing. They are not used to this kind of a coming forward. That can be treated with giving a very small installment of openings. Then slowly they will come out of that shell. That is possible. But sometimes that may not be the reason. This reason can be very severe situations of psychological issues. So then need to get some guidelines or instruction from a counselor. I'm telling about various situations. So the key part is identifying why they are passive. There must be some reason. And how successfully you identify depends upon the remedy. I mean, that follows the remedy part. There's no one magic trick to convert a passive to an active. Depends upon the reason why they are passive. We can think how can make them active. Any other concerns? Okay. Yeah, I mean, teaching, learning, instructional strategy, these are all topics that will never end. I have a bunch of slides pending, but it doesn't matter. That is not the way that we have to conduct. It's not idea of covering the content or completing the things that I wanted to tell you. More important is create some interest in at least a few teachers and then involve them, clarify their questions. These are the things that I think workshops should focus. No attempt to tell everything that I know to you is not the point. Right? So let us wind up here. I think we have only a few minutes remaining. Unless
Sir, I have one question, sir, but
Yeah,
it is
please.
not belongs to this today's session.
Okay.
It is relevant to the research, sir.
Okay.
As per your citations, you have published many papers, have high range of citations as well. So we are also doing research. We are also writing papers, publishing papers, and everything. But in IIT and NIT, people are always looking different from us. So where we are lagging, and what are the ideas you are doing to do your research, and how we can improve our research? Please tell some tips, sir.
I see. Okay. So, well, I mean, there are. I don't want to generalize because that would be completely wrong from my side. But saying that everybody in this first tier institutes are extremely innovative and other second tier, third tier. No, I don't think so. There are individuals who are shining at every place, and there are individuals who are good for nothing in every place. Okay, let me put it up front in the beginning. Now, this general, if you take the statistics, as you said, why generally these institutes are providing better output is, that is the way the selection happens for both faculty and the students. That is what the key point. The atmosphere that is created in such kind of institutions demand that kind of an output. So automatically everybody is striving for that, right? A majority. So when they select the student, there is always entrance examinations. We take only the best out of that. So there's a screening. Faculty also, they screen and take. So that is the reason why their performance is slightly better. And the environment, facility-wise, I don't think there's a difference between now government and private institutes. I have seen better facilities in private institutions than government-funded institutes. So it's not the facility, it's the people and the environment that they are creating. So that environment creation is the most important thing. So there's a faculty selection is very important. So we give a more importance to this selection of students, selection of faculty, but to what extent we can give importance to that in private organization is a question mark. We don't know. But if we can carefully apply that one, then slowly this scenario will change. Individual level, it is already working. I know that there are very good individuals in private organizations, much better than if you convert one by one in this first tier or second tier. But as a whole, it may not work now because of this factor. That's what I believe.
Thank you, sir. Participants, any questions? If you have, please ask now.
Yeah, 2 hours is a long duration. All sessions are 2 hours long in this webinar series.
Sir?
All sessions are 2 hours long.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All sessions, sir.
Okay, I think looks like they are.
Kanilavu, madam. Please proceed.
Thank you, sir, for the informative session on instructional characteristics towards outcome-based education. On behalf of Vellamal Institute of Technology and Department of Computer Science, I wholeheartedly thank you for accepting our invitation and giving a wonderful session. Thank you, sir.